Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. This is going to be my War Within Demonology Warlock DPS guide, both for Diabolist and Soul Harvester. In it, we're going to be covering tier sets, secondary stats, single target rotations, AOE rotations, AOE talents, single target talents, basically anything you need to know about both Soul Harvester and Diabolist Demonology Warlock heading into War Within. Now, we're not going to be covering embellishments and things here because they are not fully implemented in SimCraft yet. I would encourage you to check my website, Kalamazi.gg, which is up here, for up-to-date talent builds if things change in general over the course of the next few weeks. Blizz might do tuning for talent builds, embellishments, so on and so forth. If they do change, the website as well as the Pastebin link down below will both be more up-to-date with talent builds, and the website can cover embellishments, gems, trinkets, all that stuff in real time. Video guides, hard to update, but in general, there's that. To a similar extent, if you want any weak auras, add-ons, or profiles to see in the video, links to my Twitch and Discord and website down below, where you can get them all for free. With that being said, let's jump right into it. All right, so when it comes to your tier set for Demonology Warlock in War Within Season 1, Nerba Palace, and all of that, Demonology's 2-piece says your primary demon, being your Felguard for Demonology, right, deals 5% increased damage, and your Shadow Bolt damage is increased by 50%. Now, this bonus, among other things like sack souls and everything else in your talent tree, Shadow Bolt is a large portion of your damage. However, you are still semi-mobile as Demonology. We'll look at it in a minute here, but a lot of our demonic core economy has been nerfed. A decent bit of it has heading into War Within, but we're still relatively mobile, while Shadow Bolt is a large portion of our damage breakdown overall. The 4-piece says Shadow Bolt has a chance to enrage your primary Felguard. So this is separating your main Felguard, like your pet, from Grimoire Felguard here, right? Increasing the damage of their next Legion Strike by 300%. Now, currently, this tier bonus is pretty subpar when it comes to overall damage contribution. I think it's around 4% for the 2 and 4-piece combined, somewhere around there, give or take. Could be a little more, not really sure. If they want to buff it, they probably should buff it a lot if they want to like have the average tier bonus being around 10% of your damage as far as increases are concerned. If they don't, hey, that's about where it is, give or take. So it's not like incredibly high priority, but it's not, you know, utterly horrendous based on what other classes are doing as well, being around that 4 to 5, 6-ish% mark. Now, as far as secondary stats are concerned for Demonology Warlock heading into the War Within, for Destro and Aft, you can typically say, hey, this is probably generally roughly the priority. But for Demonology Warlock, things changed a lot in Dragonflight. You saw it progress more over the course of the expansion, and then especially in S3 and 4, due to items having raw damage effects on them, your tier set being based around Doomguard damage, so on and so forth, right? Now, I do think the best way to tell secondary stat-wise what you want, and I'm going to recommend this over everything else here, is running a raidbots.com top gear sim, right? You go in there, select gems and enchants, and it will give you the highest overall output for your character. Stat weight sims in general are typically, they're pretty out of date when top gear sims, now that they're around, they're just better, right? You can select any secondary stat combination, whether it's enchants or gems, sim them all, and it will give you the highest output. And that is how you tell what, you know, you want secondary stat-wise. Your stat priority will vary from mine because gear varies in general. Now, for those that are wondering, from what I've seen a lot of variants still. Crit and burst do still seem relatively strong for Demonology, but I have seen haste and mastery gain more value comparatively to where they were in Dragonflight towards the end. So I'm not even going to recommend a priority here, honestly. Realistically, eye level is the highest overall. But if you want stat priorities and all that, I would check my website and Wildhead guides, you know, in a few weeks when Sim's more fleshed out. But the best way to tell, especially early on, is going to be running your own raidbots.com top gear sims. Alrighty, now when it comes to talent builds for Demonology Warlock and War Within, both Diabolist and Soul Harvester play the same talent builds in single target and AOE in basically every setting. Both Diabolist and Soul Harvester have a relatively passive amount of contribution towards the rotation. If you play Demonology in Dragonflight, or even in the past, it's still pretty similar. You're going to cast Call Dreadstalkers on cooldown, cast Hand of Gul'dan at 3 shards. You are playing your Vile Fiend now, we'll get to that in a minute here, but your Tyrant is your Tyrant still. Tyrant is a minute cooldown though in War Within, unlike, you know, Dragonflight being, well, you know, more than that, right? Now, talent-wise here for Diabolist, we're going to look at both Diabolist and Soul Harvester here, but Diabolist focuses around having these large demons that spawn. Overlord, Mother of Chaos, and Pit Lord. I'm probably going to refer to Mother of Chaos a lot as Big Mommy here, because honestly, I've said it a million times, and it's an awesome pet. Now, when they spawn, they come in and do damage. Pit Lord does AOE, she does AOE, and Overlord also cleaves and increases your pet damage by 5% when he's active, right? Or, sorry, for 15 seconds, not just when he's active. Now, when they all spawn in, they also empower one of your abilities or bring an effect with them. The Pit Lord brings Ruination, which is a meteor. It turns your Hand of Gul'dan into Ruination, which summons 3 wild imps whenever it lands. A lot of AoE damage, very strong. Now, this ability, we'll look at it in a minute here in the rotation section. It will summon 3 imps, whether you cast it at 1 shard, like Hand of Gul'dan, or 3. Because it doesn't even consume shards when it lands. It's just literally a free cast, massive splash damage, imp spawn. Very cool. The Mother of Chaos, Big Mommy, empowers your ability to be an Infernal Bolt. Infernal Bolt generates 3 shards whenever you cast it and does a bit of damage. So you got to plan around getting extra shards coming in. And when it comes to the Overlord, once again, a 5% pet damage increase, can't say that, for 15 seconds whenever he spawns in. So they all, bring their own effects. You have things like Touch of Rancora that, double the damage of your, Hand of Gul'dan here. And this is all based around Diabolic Ritual that spawned in these pets. The Mother of Chaos, the Pit Lord, the Overlord here. It is a baseline 20-second effect that is reduced whenever you spend soul shards. Now, that's further reduced by Cruelty of Kurzan, which is being played here, making it essentially a 17-second ritual, and this also giving you a larger Tyrant empowerment. Now, Abyssal Dominion is a trait here that makes Tyrant a lot more impactful for Diabolist compared to Soul Harvester. Diabolist has higher peaks whenever you're Tyranting on that minute cooldown because you're playing Ray of Tyranny here for both. And Abyssal Dominion does indeed work with Ray of Tyranny. It empowers your Tyrant more, right? Soul Harvester doesn't have as much burst, but it has lower highs but higher lows, if that makes sense. It sustains more comparatively to Diabolist. Both are very cool. Now, when you're comparing Diabolist to Soul Harvester here, we talked about Tyrant not being as strong, but Soul Harvester has these more consistent damage profile. The cool thing is that whether you're playing Soul Harvester or Diabolist, nothing changes in the actual spec tree. You're just changing, hero talents essentially, and they're both pretty close in sims. It does favor Diabolist, but not by a crazy amount. They're both relatively close, being second Diabolist and third Soul Harvester for Demo overall, from like best to worst, looking at AF, Destro Demo, all that. Yeah. Now, when it comes to Soul Harvester here, what really changes from AF is not a whole lot. It's the same breakdown here. If you look at the AF guide, you're just playing Shared Fate, or sorry, Feast of Souls over Shared Fate. Now, the way Soul Harvest works for Demonology, similar to AF, you have a Demonic Soul. Shards are succulent. Whenever you consume one, it gives Hand of Gul'dan a 60% damage increase, which is strong. Whenever you cast the Demonic Core, you spawn your demon here, which will do his ability, apply Soul Anathema, put some damage out, all that kind of stuff. Whenever you cast your Tyrant, like you do for Soul Rot for Affliction, he will give you 3 shards. And each shard will be succulent. Now you might be asking, okay, well, Hand of Gul'dan consumes, up to 3 shards whenever you cast it, which is typically always cast at 3 shards. Does it consume all 3 shards? Or I guess all 3 succulent shards on the first Hand of Gul'dan cast? The answer is no. It's only 1 succulent shard consumed per Hand of Gul'dan cast. It might consume 3 shards. Only 1 of them will count as being succulent. So it actually empowers multiple Hand of Gul'dans, 3. Whenever you cast your Tyrant and get shards, so on and so forth. You have to build some more between then, but it's fine. Outside of that, you have Sathiel's Volition here. Imp damage increase, and when you implode, you have a higher chance to get cores back, which is nice. Things like here, Feast of Souls, once again, you're playing this over Shared Fate from what I have seen. Now, I will say, when you're doing like M+ stuff with Soul Harvester, I would play Shared Fate over Feast of Souls here. Shared Fate is essentially how Doom works, where you're just tab targeting different Shared Fates on the different mobs. Tab targeting Demon Bolts, right? Hitting a mob with a Demon Bolt when you're playing Shared Fate, apply Shared Fate, right? Via this ability right here. Consuming a good amount of core, activate Shared Fate of Feast of Souls. So if you're playing both Doom and Shared Fate and M+ for whatever reason, you're applying Doom and Shared Fate to one mob, tabbing again to a different mob, doing the same, right? So pretty strong, pretty important to use your cores properly if you're playing that. But either way, You know, there's that. Other increases here to Shadow Bolt, all kind of stuff here and there, yada, yada, yada. Your main target of Hand of Gul'dan, he does more damage to you, so there's a bit more funnel there, but yeah, basically it. The big difference here, damage profile-wise, you generate a lot more succulent shards. You're generating a lot more cores. You generate a lot more succulent shards because you generate a lot more shards in general as Demonology via casting a simple Shadow Bolt or casting a Demon Bolt, which gives you 2 shards, compared to Affliction having to generate shards via Agony Ticks or a Drain Soul or a mob dying with a UA on it. So when you look at your raw breakdown for Demonology, playing Soul Harvester, your Demonic Soul is like twice as high as it is for Affliction. Soul Anathema, like number 4 overall in your breakdown. Tyrant, not as strong, because once again, you are playing Reamp Tyranny, but you're not playing, you know, Diabolist, which gives you this for a Tyrant empowerment. You're playing Soul Harvester, which doesn't have that, but it has more consistency. Now, getting into the breakdown here overall, Demon Bolt, you do have to play Implosion in every build. It's just how it is. Every point in the Demo tree is 1 talent point. So you are playing Implosion in single target, but honestly, a lot of fights you want Implosion. You don't implode in single target, but you want it in general for some cleave, and honestly, you get whatever you want pretty much for the most part. So, you're playing Call of Dreadstalkers here, Carnivorous Stalkers, Demonic Strength, you are indeed playing Wicked Maw. Fellow Invocation coming out of Soul Strike here. At one point in Spiteful Recon, Inner Demons, you are playing Rune of Shadows for a damage increase to you. Sorry about your pet. Sack Souls, essentially doubling the damage of Shadow Bolt. This is multiplicative. It's not additive or anything. It's multiplicative. So, like, if you're playing this and Shadow Bolt is, you know, 5% of your damage, or if you're not playing this and it's 5%, if you take this, it'll be 10. It literally is multiplicative. It's very strong. You're playing 1 point in Imperator here, heading down here, still playing Power Siphon, playing Tyrant, Grimoire, Felguard. We'll come back to this in a minute here as well. Demonic Calling, giving you a chance to have your dogs be instant cast. Reign of Tyranny coming out of Tyrant here. You're playing Umbral Blaze pretty much due to the fact that it leads into Pact of the Antmother here. If this was here, you would just play this and not this, but it is what it is. You're playing over here Expendables. Doom leads into Impending Doom, which leads into Pact of the Aerodrome. This is your Doom Guard from Season 3 and 4 of well, I guess S3 for Demonology and Dragonflight. The big difference here, he does not AoE. It is a single target Shadow Bolt or Doom Bolt, whatever it is. When he spawns in, he casts a few of them, but he does not AoE. So you're playing him in single target, but we're not playing him at AoE. We'll get to that in a minute. Outside of that, you're playing Summon Vile Fiend, which actually becomes either Faharg or Shatug, the Shadow Dog or Fire Dog from Antorus. You're playing Faharg everywhere currently because he scales with haste. Shadow Dog does not. They might fix that. Once again, check the website, check, you know, Wellhead and all that to be up to date at some point if this does change, but for now we're playing Fire Dog everywhere. Playing a point over here in Foul Mouth, giving you an increase to Vile Fiend, or basically these dogs, you're playing them. You're playing Houndmaster's Gambit. Whenever your Dreadstalkers, whenever your Vile Fiend is active, Vile Fiend being this, right, your dogs do 50% increased damage. Vile Fiend should be active for 45 seconds every minute. Due to Tyrant extensions, Tyrant being a minute long, this being a half-minute cooldown, and baseline lasting 15 seconds. Playing a point in Shadow Touch here, and a point over in Dread Calling. Now, I want to come back to Grimoire Felguard here. So a lot of builds I've seen have actually, some builds have not been playing Grimoire Felguard in single target. It needs a buff, honestly, but they opt to just pull this point out of Grimoire Felguard and play it in Anilian Training. I've simmed this with my own gear on beta, and I gained about 2k DPS playing Anilian Training over Grimoire. Now, that may seem like a lot, but when you're doing 1.2 million or whatever, it's actually not that big of a deal, but this feels more fluent. It's not that weird, like clunky, big tyrant, small tyrant sequencing. It's more consistent in the sense playing Anilian Training, just in general. It feels a little better. If you want to play Grimoire, go for it. If you want to play this, go for it. I'm going to call it a wash pretty much. I'll link to both builds down below, but that's basically it. If you want Grimoire, rock it. If not, play Anilian. It'll likely be locked in more on what's better the closer we get to launch, but both builds are here. If you don't like Grimoire, awesome. Now, when it comes to AoE here, not a crazy... Some things change, but here's the thing. So, Demonology has a very strong AoE-based profile just naturally. Going back to the single target build here, you still got Implosion, you've got Demonic Strength, you've got Dogs Cleaving, Carnivorous, you've got Wicked Maw, you've got Grimoire Cleaving or not, you've got your Fire Dog doing AoE damage, you've got Doom splashing damage. Demonology's cleave profile is very strong, even playing the single target build, but you can build further upon it if you want, going even more into other AOE based elements. I've opted for this build here. I am playing Dreadlash. I am playing Imp Gang Boss here as well. I'm not playing Grimoire Felguard. I am playing Siphon, Expendables, all this stuff here. Once again, playing this to get to this. I am playing a point in Ring of Tyranny, Demonic Calling, and basically heading through here into, Fire Dog here as well, so on and so forth. Now, people are going to ask, why are you not playing Guillotine? I hate Guillotine. I don't think it's very good. It's a long cooldown, single-use ground-placed effect that often gets pulled out of. Even when it doesn't, damage is pretty mediocre. I am playing a point over here in Doom and a point somewhere else in the tree. Doom, for what it's worth, has been stronger for me than Shadow Invocation, as long as you're playing Doom by hitting different targets, how we did in Season 3 of Dragonflight. If you want to play Shadow Invocation over Doom, you can do that too. Just throw it up there. Not a big deal. This is like set it and forget it. Doom is better if you're playing it properly and better in single target from what I've seen. If you want to play Guillotine, I'd probably pull a point out of Doom and put it over here and probably pull a point, not even sure you pull it from. It might be Imp Gang Boss, honestly. Actually, you can't even pull Imp Gang Boss because take them points up here. It might actually be, let's see here, fill this in again because I messed it up. It's okay. You'd likely pull, honestly, I mean, you probably would need to pull out of like Dread Calling to hop down in here. So I'm not going to pull it back to hit Mother. I'm not complaining here. You either would pull Dread Calling or pull Flame Touched. And with that being the case, I probably just pull Dread Calling, hop in here to get Guillotine. But I don't think Guillotine's very good. I think this row is pretty subpar as well. Hatred is horrendous right now. I think this is sort of like a generally just sort of dead node. But you will see Guillotine play if, you look at more Demonology, I guess, like logs and just like in general, just like, what people are playing early on. But I don't think Guillotine is a very good investment. I'm going to start here. You're not playing Grimoire, not playing Guillotine. This build feels smooth. You're summoning a dog on cooldown, every half minute, every minute. You get a Tyrant with a dog, with more dogs in it by a Call of Dreadstalkers. You get imps in it. You weave Doom on different targets. You hit your strength. They chomp, they cleave, you implode. You get bigger imps. This build feels tight. It feels like it's well concocted, if that makes sense. But once again, play what you want. Links to that down below. Let's get into rotational stuff. Alrighty, so we're going to look at the Diabolist Demonology single target opener here. Now, a couple things here. Both Diabolist and Soul Harvester are very similar in their rotation. They're basically the same thing. We're going to look at both openers here for single target and then combine one section into an AOE section because you'll see both abilities being both hero talents in their own thing in this section to save time. Now, when it comes to Demonology, there are a handful of things I want to review really fast here because there's a lot to get into rotationally, but it's actually pretty simple, just things to hit on, right? Number one, we're playing Ring of Tyranny in the War Within, which increases your max number of imps in your Tyrant from 10, if you're not playing it, to 15. So at times you'll get lucky with Imp Mother procs to have a bunch of imps out regardless. At times you won't. Now, you won't always hit 15. It's hard to do, almost impossible depending on haste levels, but you can get good Imp Mother streaks and get 15 super easy. At times you'll get 9 or 10, at times 12. Just you want to get as much as possible. Demonology's damage revolves around proper Tyrant setups, having a Vile Fiend based dog, red or purple dog in there, a Grimoire if you're playing it, a set of dogs like being called Dreadstalkers, and then as many imps as possible without losing actual pets to their duration, right? Now on top of that, your dog right here, this is going to be our Charhound. He is a half a minute cooldown. Tyrant is 1 minute. Grimoire is 2. So every Tyrant will have a Charhound in it. What you can do, you can cast your first Tyrant, or whatever Tyrant, with a Charhound in it, and then if you're fast with it, you can cast your Charhound, your dog, Charhound, whatever it is, essentially on cooldown at that half minute mark. Now the problem is that if you hold that proc, or that ability, or if you miss the actual abilities, coming off CD for a little while or whatever, it'll push your Tyrant back, because it's a very tight timer, being half minute and a minute. So you can't really wait on this very long if you miss the effect, or forget about it, or whatever. Now the way it works if you're playing Grimoire Felguard, which I am playing here, is that you're going to have these big Tyrant, small Tyrant cycles, right? Grimoire's a 2 minute cooldown. So my first Tyrant's going to have a Grimoire in it, a Charhound in it, a set of dogs, and a bunch of imps, right? The second Tyrant, being once again minute cooldown versus 2, is going to have a Charhound, Dreadstalkers, and a handful of imps, but no Grimoire because he's still on cooldown for a minute. Third Tyrant, going to be a big one with all that in a Grimoire. Big, small, so on and so forth. Very simple. Besides that, you're just casting Hand of Gul'dan at 3 shards, casting Call of Dreadstalkers on cooldown, and casting Power Siphon on cooldown as long as you don't overcap on cores, which is a max of 4, to cast Demon Bolts. Now, They have nerfed Demonology's core economy a bit in War Within, so I've been holding every other siphon a little bit to make sure I have enough cores to set up my tyrant properly. But we'll get to that in this rotation section here. Now, the way you want to open up here is whenever you're pulling the boss, about 3 seconds beforehand, you want to make sure you have 2 imps out. You can cast your power siphon. You can do it earlier too, but it gives you less time to cast these cores. So I'm going to siphon here. If you cast it with 1 imp out, you'll get 1 core and not 2. We have 2, so we're going to open up here. We're going to precast a Shadow Bolt. Cast my Grimoire. The boss is pulled. He'll Soul Strike for 1 shard there. Shadow Bolt. Cast Charhound. Shadow Bolt again. We got a Dreadstalker's proc there. Gonna cast Call Dreadstalkers. Hand of Gul'dan. Demon Bolt. Hand of Gul'dan. Demon Bolt. Hand of Gul'dan. And then summon Demonic Tyrant. Trinkets, whatever you got. Demonic Strength. And just go from there. Now, what you saw on that opener there, we had an instant cast dog proc, which we have right here again, actually, a demonic calling proc. At times you will get those, at times you won't in your opener. Demonology's opener varies a lot. This is an Infernal Bolt from our Big Mommy spawning in here. It varies a good bit. Sometimes you get imp refunds, sometimes you don't. Got to cast dog on cooldown here as well, like I mentioned right there. Cast him basically ASAP. You have to learn in the opener how to react to these procs. If you get an instant cast, dog proc, they're instant cast. They don't cost shards. So you have 2 extra shards to put in that tyrant ramp essentially, right? So it varies a bit. It's not very challenging at all, just it varies. So keep that in mind, all that, gotta get used to it. Now we have Tyrant in 15 here. I have 1 core, so I'm gonna cast a Hand of Ghoul in here. I'm gonna hold this siphon until about now. I'm gonna siphon now and begin Tyrant setup. So I have Charhound now, Charhound. I'm gonna go Shadow Bolt to 5 shards again, Call Dreadstalkers, once again instant cast there. Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. I'm going to go Infernal Bolt here because she procced for 3 shards. Hand of Gul'dan, summon Demonic Tyrant, Demonic Strength. Now, you'll never cast anything less than a 3-shard Hand of Gul'dan, ever, unless one of 2 things happens. Like, for example, right here, this Ruination procced. Now, this thing consumes 0 shards. This comes from your Pit Lord whenever he spawns in. It doesn't matter if you cast Ruination with 1 shard or 3. It will always spawn 3 imps from the Ruination. But Hand of Gul'dan, this ability right here, does indeed count shards, right? Now, the only other alternative or other scenario you cast less than 3-shard Hand of Gul'dans is when you're ramping into your Tyrant, you have like 1 shard, maybe 2 left in that final Hand of Gul'dan cast before Tyrant, you have enough time to do so before your pets start expiring. And they all have timers here in the weak auras. But honestly, if you're unsure of them expiring or not, don't risk it. Just Tyrant. Waste the shard, don't waste it, just don't use the shard or 2, and just build into another Hand of Gul'dan after your Tyrant. That's basically it. It's the Tyrant cycling of big Tyrant, small Tyrant, big Tyrant, small Tyrant. You've got pet spawning, Mother of Chaos, which empowers your abilities here. Pit Lords, Overlords, it's very cool. Let's look briefly at Soul Harvester and single target. All right, now we are playing Soul Harvester Demonology in single target, the same build here, all of that. The big thing in our damage breakdown, if you look at it whenever you're doing it, your Tyrant will not be as high because you don't have this damage node here. It can do a Diabolist, but you have Soul Harvester giving you a more consistent damage profile. Whenever you consume a demonic core, which is an instant cast Demon Bolt, which you can get from Power Siphon or just procs in general, dog expiring, it will summon your demon, which will do some damage. It'll apply Soul Anathema. On top of that, whenever you Tyrant, you get 3 shards, which are going to be Succulent from Shadow of Death. A lot of synergy here with demonic cores being cast, so on and so forth, and it gives a more consistent damage profile compared to Diabolist, but it's not as high in the peaks, but it's also like not as low in the lows, if that makes sense, right? More consistent. So let's get into it. If you watched the section before, on Diabolist, it's the same thing pretty much, right? So we're gonna wait for 2 imps here. I got them now, basically. Gonna siphon before the boss is pulled. Precast a Shadow Bolt. Gonna go Grimoire. Shadow Bolt again here. Charhound. Shadow Bolt. Call Dreadstalkers. We did not get a demonic calling proc here, so we're gonna cast Demon Bolt. Hand of Gul'dan. Demon Bolt. Hand of Gul'dan. Hand of Gul'dan. I'll Tyrant here and barely catch my Grimoire, which I did. Cast Trinkets, whatever. Demonic Strength. And there are the 3 shards from Tyrant as well, which we already got some in there. There you go. The 3 Succulent Souls came in there as well. And we're just casting 3-shard Hand of Gul'dans, casting Dogs on cooldown. Gonna cast a Siphon to cast a Bolt on cooldown. That's basically it. Your Doom is applied passively whenever you cast demonic core-based bolts. I'm going to cast this Dog. It's back on cooldown now. Or it's off cooldown. And that's basically it. Now, if you're playing with Doom, a talent here, which I am, on dummies, Doom appears to be bugged and not proccing the Doom Guard anywhere near what it should be. So keep that in mind. In raid settings, it will proc more often. and all of that. Now we have Tyrant here in about 20-ish. I'm going to watch my Demonic Cores for now. I know that I'm going to have Siphon up basically, but I want to see how many cores I get from these dogs. I have 2 laying around. That should be okay. I'm going to Siphon here basically. I'm going to cast 1 Hand of Gul'dan, 1 core, back to 4 here. I'm going to cast dogs here because my proc is expiring, then cast Charhound, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. I'm losing my dogs here, so I got a Tyrant. We're going to cast Tyrant now. There you go. Bam. There are 3 shards again from your Tyrant being spawned. This is the dude spawning behind me, my Demonic Soul. There he is, right there. There you go. He's spawning in. He's sucking out souls and all that stuff. He'll also spawn in whenever I cast a Demonic Core-based Demon Bolt, which is right now. There he is. That's the gist of it, honestly. It's the same thing as Diabolist, but you have, you know, the 3 shards from Tyrant cast. You have basically a bit more, like, I guess, shard economy there, versus Diabolist spawning in all these pets that do their own abilities and empower your other ones with Ruinations and Inferno Bolts and all that. Both feel good. Both are cool thematically. Both are pretty good, but honestly, both are the same. Besides that, you're casting 3-shard Hand of Gul'dans, casting dogs on cooldown, the same big Tyrant, small Tyrant sequencing if you're playing Grimoire Felguard. If you're not playing Grimoire Felguard, every Tyrant's the same. Charhound, dogs, some imps, and a Tyrant. Let's look at AOE and the Implosion Rotation. All right, so getting into Demonology Warlock AOE, it's going to be a combined section for both Soul Harvester and Diabolist because I don't want to make 2, they're both the same rotation. Diabolist will give you empowered abilities. Once again, Ruination coming out of your Pit Lord, the big empowered Hand of Gul'dan, the Demonic Meteor, spawns 3 imps, does a lot of damage. You also get Inferno Bolts, which give you 3 shards. Soul Harvester will play in a similar fashion rotationally, just you're going to play Shared Fate, which is the same thing essentially as Doom is with our S3 tier set from Dragonflight, where you want to like tab target demonic cores around, because whenever you cast a demonic core, it will apply Shared Fate as well as Doom if you're playing it. That goes for, you know, both Diabolist and Soul Harvester. Besides that, spawning your demon does a lot of damage to all the targets you're hitting, a Soul Harvester. Diabolist, once again, is more about, you know, pet spawning in, the empowered abilities. Both the Pit Lord and Big Mommy's abilities do indeed cleave. Her Chaos Barrage and his Spellseeker does, as well as Overlord cleaving. So honestly, they're both very good in cleave. Diabolist appears to be a little better in AoE, so we're going to play that here. Once again, rotationally, when we get into this, outside of like Ruination Meteors proccing and Inferno Bolts, they're exactly the same. Rotationally, the Implosion Rotation is the same for both. Now, the Implosion Rotation we'll look at in a minute here when we get into combat. We'll talk about it a little bit as well. But let's just open up here, see where it goes. I'm not playing Guillotine, like I said. If you're playing Guillotine for whatever reason, just throw it down on cooldown. It's fine. Same thing. Doesn't really matter. So let's say we're heading into a pack. Typically, I'd have more imps out in plus, but I don't here. Not in plus, it is what it is. So say I have some imps out and some cores. I'm going to siphon here. Either way, whatever. Going to head in. So I'm going to build the 5 shard tier tanks pulling. I'm not playing Grimoire here either. I'm going to cast Charhound, cast College Redstalkers, Demon Bolt in this mob, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt in that mob, applied 2 dooms there. Hand of Gul'dan again, it's fine. Tyrant, Trinket, Demonic Strength. That's basically it. I'm going to spread my Demonic Core procs around here, being instant cast Demon Bolts as a Ruination proc right there. Big Meteor comes down, bam, cleaves them all. Pretty big. Another Hand of Gul'dan here, going to cast dogs. Imps are expiring now. I'm going to implode. There's Tyrant, also ended right there. Now, honestly, that's pretty much the gist of it. You're going to get empowered abilities from other pets coming in here. I'm still going to siphon basically on cooldown. I'm going to cast my dog here as well, the fire dog. And honestly, like it's just the same as it is even in single target outside of your Implosion Rotation. Casting 3-shard Hand of Gul'dans, casting dogs on cooldown. I'm going to implode right here. And you want to implode in 2 or more stack targets. A lot of Demonology's profile, like the stack cleave profile, is just built in based on what it does. Hand of Gul'dan cleaves, your pets cleave, they chomp, they do cleave damage and all that, right? But one of the big things here, I would Tyrant as well now, right? We'll do it now, it's fine. Set it up. So I'm going to cast a Shadow Bolt here, Hand of Gul'dan, the Charhound, cast my Tyrant. There you go. There's your minute window, right? 10 imps in there. One of the big things is going to be the Implosion Rotation, which is, this is a decent bit of your AoE. So the way it works is I have my Tyrant out right now. This weak aura here, all these numbers shows the number of imps that I have active. They're all, the ones that are gray are Tyrant extensions. Whenever he expires, I'm going to implode them. Now, he's not out for a good portion of the time, anything plus, in combat or whatever. The way the Implosion Rotation works, you want to implode in AoE, essentially it's in 2 or more stack targets, not even AoE, in stack cleave. It's a DPS gain in 2 or more stack targets. Now, the general rule is you want to implode typically at least 6 imps, but you can implode more depending on procs and all that, but you don't want to implode less than 6. not really worth it. Now, the way it works, let's say I'm in M+, I'm running around here, got a few cores up and stuff. So I'm going to build the 5 shards here. Say I have no imps out, right? I'm going to build imps, whatever. So I'm going to go Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt. One more hand is fine. And then, you know, cast a Shadow Bolt. I have 10 imps out. Now I'll implode. You're building to max resources or close to that. Then cycling Hand of Gul'dan, Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Bolt. At times, you can even implode here if you want. 2 Hand of Gul'dans, depending on your imp count, right? Depending on the pack, if it's dying fast or whatever. But you want to build a handful of imps by a Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt cycling, or Hand of Gul'dan, some shard-based generating spell, Hand of Gul'dan cycling, and then implode them. Now, you want to start imploding them before the first set you spawned in expire, because the way imps work, they spawn in with a set number of casts, which you can see here. This weak aura, which is in my Woggle if you want it right here. This number here is the raw number of imps that I have active, which is 1. He's going to expire right now. One more cast, there he goes, he's gone, right? So I'm going to Hand of Gul'dan here. Now I have 4 because I cast a Hand of Gul'dan. This is their remaining casts when they, after they spawned in. He has 1 left, 2, and he casts it, he's gone. Gonna cast, they're gone. The number on top is their remaining duration. So if I'm, in my implosion rotation, I'm gonna summon some imps in here and try and squeeze as many as I can within reason before they start expiring. So I have 9 here. I can go on my Hand of Gul'dan, why not? There it is. Load. Because that first set was gonna start expiring in about 1 second there. You don't want imps to expire. You want to get as many out as you can before they expire and then implode, right? Now you might think, change that a bit depending on if the pack is dying fast. You want to implode with less imps, but 6 or more, build some, implode before they expire. That's basically it. Besides that, in AOE, you're casting Tyrant every minute still, casting Charhound on cooldown, casting Dogs, Demonic Strength on cooldown. And if you can, when you're imploding, optimally, you want to implode when you have Wicked Maw active from your dogs, which they cast when they go into when they jump in here and cast their Dreadbite. That's basically it. It's honestly pretty fluent. Not bad at all. It feels very smooth, and it feels even smoother if you're not playing Grimoire Felguard here, which I wasn't. If you're playing Grimoire, throw it in the rotation first with Tyrant. If you're playing Guillotine, throw it down on cooldown. It's fine. But yeah, that's basically it. So thanks for watching, guys. Wraps it up, and hopefully you have any questions about War Within Demonology Warlock, whether it's Diabolist or Soul Harvester, this video answered them for you. Now, like I said, Blizzard may very well do tuning over the next few weeks. Releases in about a day and a half for me, give or take, when I'm recording this video. Things may change talent-wise, tuning-wise, all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage you to check my website, kalamazi.gg, or the pastebin link down below. If builds do change, both will be updated over the course of the patch, the expansion, and honestly, expansions on all that kind of stuff. If you guys want any weak horrors or add-ons, links to Twitch, Discord, and website down below. You can get them all for free. At the same time, a huge, massive shout out, like always, on my patrons. All support on Patreon, y'all. Thank y'all a million times. I greatly appreciate it. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for you guys, make content, stream, and just, I greatly appreciate it, y'all. Thank y'all so much. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. Like I said, I'm a pretty big fan of Demonology. Diabolist is really cool. Probably, like, thematically one of the coolest specs, hero talent specs, and just specs in general in the game. It's super exciting. Thematically awesome. Even Soul Harvester, not as like thematically exciting, but it feels good. Casting Tyrant, giving it 3 shards, Hand Gul'dans, hit pretty hard. And honestly, the damage breakdown with Demonic Soul and stuff, and all the shards you get from Demonic Cores, or I guess procs from Demonic Cores and stuff, feels good. They did a good job at changing Demonology to be thematically more of what Demo should be. So we'll see where it goes. With all that being said, thanks for watching. If you like the video, hit the like and sub button below. Helps out a ton, and I will catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.